Hold on.
Welcome to Chicken and the Fat Lady, the place where facts are currency and common sense is a commodity.
I'm Chicken, and Republicans are not your friends.
I am the Fat Lady, and conservatives are corrupt.
Plain and simple. Uh, Gearing up to our happy 250th of a nation.
Yep,
I know we
episode two.
episode two. We got on the ground running. We had the Iran deal last time, and we're revving up to our proper 250th, not the Orange Boys birthday 250th, which is what we're talking about today is Orange Man.
Yes, this is going to be obviously different from the goopy colonialism that we covered last week, but this is on the surface, you think that this should just be like an innocuous thing. It's celebrating the nation, but then when you start to pull back the scab and you see the skin underneath, you see how debaucherous it really is.
I mean, it says something when a bunch of the acts that were slated for the proper 250th celebration all pulled out except for Vanilla Ice, which
Whose
so
parade got rained on anyway.
I mean, if you're inviting Vanilla Ice over to a cookout, that's a
Right.
bad cookout, you know. But to talk about the backyard brawl cage match, um, I mean, the we want to have an MMA fight, gladiatorial style, just beating people up as a celebration to our country. Like, shouldn't we stand for something more? Shouldn't we be more than um shouldn't we aspire to be more than just violent, bloody, macho, masculine, the machismo, whatever you want to call it? Apparently not. Apparently we have to get Joe Rogan and Dana White and all of these guys who can't walk through the door straight, their time in the sun to celebrate our 250th.
I think that okay, so I'm going to give my pleathered pedigree here
Yeah.
as someone who grew up in a trailer park and lived in a trailer park until she joined the Navy. You would think that this would be something that's right up my alley. Let's go watch a whole bunch of guys in their Speedos beat each other up on the White House lawn. And for me, there is nothing that says low rent more than that we haven't evolved as a nation, as a people, as a humanity. Um, to think that this is something that's done. Now, I don't give a shit about the MMA. I don't watch the MMA. I could give a shit about the MMA.
Yeah.
You can have it though, if that's what you want to do. You want to get punched in the face by someone else for fun? No, not me personally. Now, if it comes down to it, and you want to punch me in the face, I want to see you try it. But as far as me paying to go see it, no. And I used to love watching boxing, but I've evolved as a person. I don't think that violence is always the answer to some things. Now, sometimes people will only respond to that because that's the only thing that they know.
When it's the
But
only choice you're given. Yes.
right, right. But to have this on the White House lawn, you wanted to have this in an arena and you wanted to bring the president there and celebrate the tangerine tortoise, then by all means, please do. Please absolutely do that. But not
Right.
it the White House is supposed to be sacred land. And even though our history is one built on shit and depravity and othering, because we're not, they're never going to talk about that on the mainstream.
Of course not.
And that's something that my fellow whites are going to have an issue with too. But we have to come to terms with what this nation was built on. And then perhaps we might be able to move forward from it, but we're continuing to rewrite history. And we're continuing to think it's so cool to dumb ourselves down because the dumber we are, somehow the tougher we are. And I don't know how those two things align. I
Well,
think
I
there's
mean,
strength in knowledge.
of course. And I mean, look, I agree. If this was just, hey, this is a televised thing where, you know, Tangerine Man wants to put on something for his birthday, because it wasn't really the 250th about America. Our 250th hasn't happened yet, you know. If it was just something personal to him, that's one thing. I still wouldn't like it. I'm sure tax dollars would have been used to pay for it in some respect, but that's a different discussion that could have happened. But that's not what happened here. That's not what occurred to this. Just like it's back alley brawl. Um, it's very like 2000s, like you know, no shade to like Limp Bizkit or anything as a musical group, but it just has that energy of just like it feels like, you know, you have Limp Bizkit music playing and people are drinking beers and getting concussions, um and it shows the Cro-Magnon level of intelligence and morality of people, including the fighters, including a specific fighter, Josh Hokit, who at the end had to give his little tagline after he won. I don't really know what he won, you know, saying that Michelle Obama is a man, and Joe Rogan smiling as he takes the mic from him, saying nothing in defense, um, or to rebuke or to kind of deflect, just what's said was said. And the president has been silent this whole time. Apparently, Josh has apologized on his Instagram, but I mean,
No, 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 no. Let's not get that twisted. I don't believe that he apologized. And I wouldn't know about Instagram because I don't use Zuckerberg or Fuckerberg platforms. But what I read and what was covered was that he apologized not because he called her a man, but because people misconstrued it because he was giving her a compliment by referencing that she was somehow the alpha.
right, as a way to deflect from his, you
Right.
know, bigotry and anti-feminist and racism with which that he put himself on full display. And uh, in juxtaposition, soon after you know, the Barack Obama Presidential Center goes up, soon after this 250th, you know, debacle and beer brawl, the Presidential Center goes up,
God, guns, titties, and beer. No, I'm sorry. It's
right?
God, guns, beer, and titties because beer's got to
Right.
come before the titties.
Well, beers
Yeah.
and boobs, you got to
Yep.
alliterate, you know.
Yep.
But the center goes
Exactly.
up, and not even to talk about the context of which both Michelle and Barack spoke about anything about unification of people or what the center was about or this, that, and the third, but just to hear a coherent stream of thoughts from both of them, to hear speeches instead of grandpa rambling about one time he saw Arnold Palmer's dick or talking about electric sharks or whatever the fuck, you know, the mummified man wants to talk about any given day when he hasn't taken his pills. um just the grace and intelligence of, because they're both, if I'm not mistaken, both graduated from Harvard with
Absolutely. Yes.
a
Michelle
bunch of
has a law degree as
accreditations.
well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're both fantastic. And just to remember what it was like to have, because we didn't, you know, to be fair to be fair against the Democratic Party, Joe Biden wasn't really kicking it either. This isn't just to dunk on Trump, even though
Oh
it
no,
is.
no, no, no. Joe Biden, Joe had to go, but Sleepy Joe and why are we not calling him
Sleepy
Drowsy
Don,
Donnie?
Drowsy Don. There you go. That's a good one.
Why are we not calling him Drowsy Donnie? Because
He's
all
asleep.
he does is fucking sleep.
Ah, the
And
dozing Don. The dozing Don.
the dozing dawn. And you know, the problem is that these reporters are so afraid of this administration and not being able to go into that special little room in the White House, the press room, um, to talk and to listen to this nonsense because that's what it is. It's nonsense. And no one pushes back on it because you're going to be called low IQ or a fat piggy, things that he
Right.
never says to a white man, by the way. But he
They,
only says these things to women or to black individuals. He never refers to white men in this manner. And I mean, this guy has been getting his ass handed to him by brown women for a while. Kamala Harris cleaned his clock in that debate. And if you watch that debate and you still voted for him, then you're willfully stupid. You're willfully stupid. And clearly, a lot of the country is willfully stupid.
willfully stupid. You know, protectors of pedophiles and rapists and cannibalism and
Absolutely.
whatever else that we still don't
Murder.
have all the shit from the Epstein files. So we don't even know how far it goes, right?
Well, and then there was a blow with that this week as well, because they were trying to hide the testimony of this 13-year-old girl against Donald Trump and Todd Blanchett, right? Todd Blant, whatever the hell his name is. I don't give a shit what his name is. He was in court and the judge said, no, 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 no. You need to tell me why it is that you have excluded this evidence
Right.
from the pool of evidence. And are they going to respond to it? But this goes back to these files have been destroyed. We're never going to see these files again. They're not going to be in Mar-a-Lago this time. They're going to have a burn pit right on the White House lawn, probably going up in the MMA thing and just taking care of everything all at once. If he leaves, and then I think he's going to leave because I think his father from down below is calling him and is going to take him here in the next few months.
I was going to say, I was adamant that the death was coming before the end of last year. I am 10,000% sure that
Oh,
it's
I
happening
think
this
before
year.
the summer. I think before the end of the summer. That's what I think. Not because I
Yeah.
know anything, but I just feel
Not
like
because you've
it,
made any calls and
No, not
hired
because
any.
I'm doing anything, because I'm not doing that. I
Right.
don't I truly as I tell Mr. Fat Lady, I would love for it to happen in front of all of us, and that way there's no question. There's no the Democrats poisoned him while he was
Right.
sleeping, even though he's protected by Secret Service. Somehow the Democrats from across, they're in England somewhere and they brainwaved him to murder him somehow. And that'll be the conspiracy theory behind it.
Look, a
But I do
non
want to I'm so I wanted
real
to go
quick.
back to Michelle
Yeah.
Obama
Yes.
because I mean all this guy does every time, because he's a transphobe. This Hockett kid.
Yep.
He sounds like Huck Tui to me. Hockett, right? Hockett. He's hawking it up. He he bangs the gong against trans people all the time.
All the time.
And me thinks, maybe is there an attraction there that you're hiding? Because every confession, right? Every
Right.
projection is a confession.
Right. Every
So,
little bit of nugget has some truth into it.
mhm.
Of course. I
And
mean,
it's funny
that's how it
because
always goes.
the funny thing is like I heard him I just read something, obviously because I'm researching for this because that's what you do.
Hmm.
Um, and he says, yeah, his mom is Mexican. No, that means that you're half Mexican if your mother is Mexican. Your mother is not Mexican and you're somehow not Mexican. Like Chicken's father is black, so he is not somehow not black now because his mother is white.
Yes. I mean,
Um,
that's
One
when we
drop.
had a conversation about maybe a month ago before we started this, talking about the former leader of the Proud Boys. his name
Right.
being Enrique. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, dude,
Taurus.
you're, yeah, Enrique
Yeah.
Torres, you're part of the group
Yeah.
that they don't want.
Right.
Just because you passed, the graph test, someone held the color meter in front of you and said, you pass enough, that doesn't mean anything.
But I don't know how that's possible because I was watching him get browner by the day when they were protesting in
Mm-hmm.
Florida. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
So,
Um,
but he's the perfect thing. Like this is what conservative media does, right? They'll pinpoint this guy out here who's this color and say, see, even he wants what the rest of the good white Christian nationalists want.
of course. Even though we've now, I'm sure you've seen it. I think it just happened the other day. Pete Hag smells um, help to diminish the amount of recognized Christian denominations in the
Yes.
military from
Yes.
like 220 something to 31.
Yes.
I mean, the Republican media engine, right? And even to your point earlier, that it's not even just Republicans, it's also, even what we used to think as Democratic
Right.
voices have
Right.
started to bend the knee because they, for a multitude of reasons, the station doesn't want to lose money because we have three companies that own all the media, of
Right.
which
Sinclair Media is one of those. Yep.
exactly, yeah, the
Hmm.
Sinclair broadcast group.
Hmm.
Um, you know, everyone has just bent the knee and are towing the line, and uh, and this Josh guy is also just another like participation trophy. The things that they hated, the things that they raved about hating.
Right.
He is a failed fucking football player.
Right. 5 days. Cut 5 days after five
Five
days.
days, put on the practice team on like three or four different teams.
Yep.
Never played. So he's like, you know what? Whatever. Just like how Steven Crowder is a failed actor and
Right.
comedian, and Ben Shapiro is a failed writer. Um, we have now had to move to this grift, and to insult a woman on any stature, to think that you're a big man. Michelle Obama was like, strong men don't need to insult another woman to be
They
seen as
don't.
strong men.
They don't.
And because these are all weak. Yeah, you could probably punch me in the face the hardest anyone's ever punched me in the face. I'm not saying that I'm gonna take him out 1v1 in the backyard, but like you are not speaking to the masses. You will be remembered in infamy or not even remembered at all. Your stint is so
That's
short.
that's more of how I see it. I see
I
it
didn't even know
as
who the fuck this guy
I
was, and
I
again,
I
I didn't.
never heard of him before. I only heard of him because of this.
Yep.
And again, but I'm not in that, I'm not in the red pill circle.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the red pill later and the run-ins that I've had with people on movie productions about red pills.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely go there eventually. But I had no idea who he was, and Michelle Obama will long be remembered, and the Obamas will long be remembered as a
Hmm.
couple of class
Yep.
with class, a couple that beyond anything else you can see loved one another and still love one another so very much. I don't care if you're black, white, green, purple, it doesn't matter to me. Looking at the two of them and how they feel about one another, when you see Barack look at Michelle, he looks at her with absolute love and respect, and he knows that he gets half of his strength from that woman.
Yes.
And
Meanwhile, Melania's
right,
forehead can't move.
right. Well, her forehead can't move. Nothing else moves either because it's all been implanted and is fake.
Yeah.
And somehow, a woman who has done exactly what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be born here, we're supposed to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps
Yep.
and become everything that we can be. We have vilified that woman, calling her out of her name, out of her gender, out of her sex, in favor for a woman who worked in the sex industry and who was trafficked here and who somehow is now allegedly and who is somehow now supposed to be the classiest first lady that we've ever
That
had.
we've ever had. Look,
That we've ever had. I have never seen not a single one of our previous 40 something first ladies. I've never seen any of their vaginas. I think it's less than that because we've had a couple of gay presidents. Shh, don't tell the whites.
exactly.
Um, so I'm fairly sure that there's not any portraits even back in the day of those women. But we have seen, from Melania's throat to her anus, literally. And the woman in Brazil who was Melania's best friend for 20 years has come
Yep.
out and said that she was trafficked, that she was selected. And now that we do know that Jeffrey Epstein was absolutely working for, was it the Mossad, I believe?
I believe it's the
So,
Mossad. Yeah, I believe so.
yeah. So he's working for the Israeli government and he's trafficking children. And we know that the Israeli IDF officers love to rape any individual because we know that the flotilla that was just assaulted and the people on the flotilla that were assaulted, the women and men that were raped, the Palestinian men
Right.
who have been raped over the years because they're trying to do that somehow to shame these men. You're doing it because you enjoy it.
You enjoy it.
You
You're trying to break these people
exactly.
and show dominance. The Romans did the same thing. They love the Roman
Yes.
Empire. The Romans did the same thing. Not to say it's good or right or an equivalent, but I mean, to double back on the Obamas, um, just to yes, hear about Michelle and hear about Barack going. I came here in an old beat up car, 18 in Detroit. Um, was it Detroit? It was Detroit or Chicago, excuse me.
Yeah, Chicago.
Um, Chicago with, barely any money in his pocket. The full on American dream, you know, being a lawyer, coming up to be a senator, and then having the highest court, highest office in the land, the highest position,
Absolutely. And
and
only being
and
on his
whatever,
first term in the Senate. He was only on his first term in the Senate when he ran. Yes.
however you feel about certain things, like the the bailouts and whatnot. He wasn't perfect either as a president,
No,
but
he wasn't progressive enough because he did
for
help
sure,
in the long run push this country where we are now.
yes,
But
but
that was a lot to do with the Blue Dog Democrats who betrayed him his first year in office and things of that nature. So yes.
I've always said it. It was just you look at the both of them, and I've always said they just looked cool. They
Oh,
just look
absolutely.
cool people, right? I can't look at Grandpa with a lean that we have to measure with a protractor every day. That's the real gangster lean, apparently. And I can't look at him and think he's cool at all. There's nothing cool.
No.
The Obamas look like a cool aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
They're like old,
Yeah.
like almost like you could see them in a number of years, like just like old, like 60s, 70s black grandparents or something, talking just in the cool, quote unquote, jive talk. But just be cool people to hang out and tell
They
stories
would
and
just be
like
good
sit
grandparents. Yeah.
exactly and just be nice, like grassroots Americans, the thing that you want. But the reason why, you know, the only reason why Trump has been relevant is because the birther movement and all that stuff. And the only reason
Absolutely.
why Obama still lives rent free in his mind, he's got the entirety of Mar-a-Lago
Oh,
in Trump's
absolutely.
brain,
Absolutely.
is because, man, he still can't scrub the black out of the White House. That's why he's
Absolutely.
destroying the East Wing, and it still won't be enough. You cannot, he sits in a seat that maybe it's not the same seat. It could be the same seat that Obama sat in, but he
I
sits and
doubt it.
he goes, I fucking can't scrub the cells
Yeah.
off of, you know,
That he was
off of
here
this
before
enough.
me. Yeah, he was
Right.
here before me. He got
I
here
can't
and he was
freshen up the air
beloved.
enough. I
Yep.
can't get her. And it's this thing in his racist, bigoted brain. And we know he's racist. It's been proved.
Yep.
We don't need to sit here and play this game. He's an adjudicated racist,
Yep.
rapist,
Yep.
and some other ists,
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Sexist.
yeah,
Uh
sexist.
and history will show that he had a penchant to do abhorrent things to little people.
Of course.
Yes.
And so all this to say is it's like this juxtaposition between the or not even the juxtaposition, but the current way that like the conservative news media is has been going, the I guess like this past year or two, but just in the microcosm of this couple weeks, is when Hokit said that about Michelle Obama. Conservative outlets tried to run with it, and it got no traction
Right.
whatsoever. Not even amongst conservative viewers who are bigoted and as racist as all hell, because they're losing all of their funding because no one's buying into it. Ben Shapiro's whole network is going down. Um, and even people like good old Tuck, Mr. Carlson, says he's leaving the Republican Party. There's a reason why I say that Republicans are not your friends. Do not believe these people who say they are leaving. Um, you know, Even if they say they're sorry that they voted for Trump and whatnot, don't believe them, because they will turn around and do it again for the next person. Because
Absolutely.
I had this conversation earlier today with a couple. I go, um, if say AOC and Ilhan Omar run next next term together as running mates,
Yeah.
a bunch of those people who are like, I'm sorry for voting for Trump, will still refuse to vote for the colored women with
Absolutely.
great fucking ideals and ideas
Absolutely.
and actions that they have put in place since their first day in fucking office. They will
Absolutely.
still vote for him. So this whole thing about this MAGA
With
exodus,
enthusiasm. With
yes,
enthusiasm. Yes.
yes, this whole thing about this MAGA exodus is true, but they're only exiting MAGA. They're not coming to the other
Right.
side. They're
Right.
just forming a new. The whole this all. I really think all of this started with the Tea Partiers, the McCain Palin, and then once that stewed up enough shit, Trump came in talking about he wasn't born here, and then those hardcore Tea Partiers morphed into the maggots.
Well, it
And
actually
so,
starts back in the 70s with the
oh, for
Southern
sure.
strategy.
I
And
just
it
mean just in
comes,
terms of
no, but I'm just
just
saying,
this
and then
sect.
comes,
Yeah,
I think it comes to fruition
yeah.
with the Tea Party for this modern day and age.
Hmm.
And then at the same time, the Tea Party, that's when there were those blue dog Democrats
Right.
and the things and the disrespect that Barack Obama got as president. That's a whole shit. That's a whole episode in and of itself with conservative media. But I have
Yes.
said this to your father for years that eventually we need to have a class action lawsuit in this United States against Fox News initially, and then to branch out all of them because they are the ones that really started to divide the nation, started to give a different spin on what was everyday things. And now, you had the Rush Limbaughs, like your uncle used to listen to Rush Limbaugh as a late teenager, early in his
Right.
early 20s. And so they have been laying the groundwork and the foundation for this for a long time. And now all of a sudden, we're a fucking Christian nation. Since when? I don't know when the
Yeah.
Christian nation nonsense began. No, we haven't always been a Christian nation. That's just a fallacy.
We've
Um,
been a Protestant nation from inception.
and, you know, Yeah,
But when you
it's
want
so
to
much.
strike down the history, it's so much. It's hard to stay on topic,
It
as it
is. It
were.
is.
It's because it's so much of it's interconnected, and you have to create a through line. But back to
Right.
the 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 and I want to speak this
Conservative media
to
and Tucker
people
Carlson
who,
and the
yes,
fallacy of the people who are now quote unquote regretting their support, aka Joe Rogan has said that now too, but he
Joe
the next day he'll
Rogan,
say
Andrew
something else.
Schultz, a bunch of
Yeah.
these comedians, and
Yeah.
even a bunch of these affluent, rich black folks, your Ice
Right.
Cubes and whatnot.
Right.
It's fuck the police, 30 some odd years ago, but now it's like let's hang with, the masses,
Yeah,
as it
I don't
were.
understand that. I don't understand that because it will be the same thing. It would be the
Yes,
same thing.
you
You
will
will
be in the
be their
field long
token,
before
right?
I fucking step outside.
You will be the token until everything is done. And once we actually have implemented all of Project 2025,
Right.
then you too, yes, will be right back out there in the field. And yes, the darker skinned people would be out there before you would because they would have you in the house serving them.
For
And I
sure.
don't think that would work out well for them because if they give you a knife, someone's getting stabbed.
So they give me access to any chemicals. It is subtle It
It
is
is
Django
on.
mixed with John Wick in that
It is
bitch.
on.
But to the people who, if you are a conservative who has found this video, and will find our series of videos long after this. I mean, and if you want to like call us liars and whatnot, I mean, just to go through the biggest sort of qualifier is like Fox News is the only like station and right wing media in itself. Fox News, Alex Jones are the only ones adjudicated and found to have lied about mass shootings, lied about voter fraud, all of this stuff, and had to have paid out for their lies. I don't
Exactly.
know a single person on the Democratic side, whether it's news person, even some of the elites in Congress or whatnot, to have been found liable to have lied and had to pay out. Not saying it hasn't happened, and we're just, waiting for it to come out. And even if it comes out, I'll be right there next to you going, yeah, they fucking lied. Because
Do
it's
you think it
not
would be
about,
to the tune of $1 billion though? Like,
do you think
I
it'd
mean, it was,
be, yeah,
yeah,
it was 765
yeah,
million,
yeah,
almost $800 million they had
yes,
to pay out. Alex Jones lost InfoWars
I
and
know. And now it's
still
for the
triples
onion.
down, right? Still triples down to this day about all the conspiracies and whatnot. I mean, you if you can find me a significant amount of evidence to support the opposite in terms of like a democratic outlet lying and defraud. I mean, you couldn't even find it in Minnesota about a bunch of these places defrauding the
And I don't even
government
want to
and
call it a
whatnot.
Democratic outlet, though. I would like to say
Yeah,
a more
it's not.
center,
Yeah,
because I do feel like CNN has always kind of been
for
center.
sure.
Yes, they've had a slant towards Israel for sure, and
I mean,
that
the
eventually
Democratic
is going to come
Party
back. Yes,
as a
absolutely.
whole is still right of center technically,
Oh,
right? Liberals and
absolutely.
progressives are
Yes.
on the actual left of the line,
Yes. I am
you
in a
know.
group and I said that the other day because, I wanted to talk about how all of the socialists won in New York and it's not just there. They've been winning across the United States. And it's
Yeah,
because if you take a poll and you slant it a certain way, conservative media, then people are always going to vote against their best interests. But if you go up to them and you say, would you like health care for your family? They're going to say, absolutely. Would you like a basic income so that you know that if you lost your job, it didn't mean that your family then was moving into your car? Because let's just talk about for 1 minute that most of Americans, I think it's about 80% of us, are oh shit, one emergency away from being homeless because no one can
yeah.
build the savings, and we'll touch about on that about in future things. So
But I mean, as
If you
as for
if
that,
you
it's like
say those,
more and more children are living with their parents, and even that,
yes,
I mean, coming together,
yes,
you're all still collectively one flat tire too soon,
yeah.
one medical emergency too
But that's
abrupt.
why you're doing it. That's why you're living with the rest of your family, so that if
Right.
there is some catastrophe, you're not homeless then.
Hmm.
You actually have, like, thank God. Say, okay, so I grew up in a multi generational house where it was, your uncle and I and my cousin and then my aunt and my dad and my grandparents. And my dad traveled, right? Because he
Yep.
worked on the road because he was a trucker. And my aunt worked weird hours as a nurse. So my grandparents were the foundation. So if anything happened with the two of them, they had those people to fall back on. And that was just because my father had divorced his wife, my mother, and my aunt had divorced her husband. Nowadays, the entire family's moving back home, husband, wife, kids, with the grandparents,
Right.
because they've lost everything, or they can't make it because who can afford to have children and make a car payment and have insurance on $7 and $8 an hour? No one.
No one. And that's my plea to anyone who is on the right or even on the fence. I mean, you really have to understand why I just can't really sit in the same room with you and have a cordial conversation, because you haven't even come up to the table when you vote against your own interests, when you vote against people's rights,
You vote against
and
freedom.
but then want to tout, you know, that you can do this, that, and the third and be free. I really want you to look at this list, right? There's been court precedent that he's a racist. He's adjudicated to be a sexist. He's adjudicated to be a rapist. He is in the files named more times than Jesus is in the Bible,
Amen. More times than anybody else, millions of times. Okay.
right?
Hmm.
He has been founded to have not lowered the price on groceries. Your premiums and everything are up so high, and these corporations are taking and taking and taking. Your paycheck's not getting any bigger. You didn't get a Doge check. You didn't get anything. No payout, no nothing. Gas was high and still is. So I just please think about why that is. Please think about how Texas has been Republican run for 30, 40 years, and yet it's still being the Democrats' fault.
Yep.
Please just think
Yep.
about that. You don't even have to research it. Just think about how that math doesn't math.
It's going to end.
So
I'm sending you texts.
that is our episode for the day. Take care. Have a good one. And we'll be back again talking about AI. Thank
Thank
you.
you.